now with a focus on China. Last night in East Coast time, in the morning in Asia time, we had our second annual Asian edition of Signal. And now we take a new perspective on China from our next guest, who brings a perspective from the world of capital, finance. James Mee is a founding partner of Lightspeed China, a leading China-focused venture firm with over $2 billion under management. He ranks number 21 on the Forbes Midas list. Prior to Lightspeed, James was Director of Corporate Development for Google, responsible for the company's strategic investments and M&A in the Greater China and Asian region. So let's hear from James Mee on investment opportunities and culture in China.
Hi everyone, my name is James Mee, founding partner of Lightspeed China. Lightspeed China is an early stage venture fund, but also with growth capital capabilities. And we focus on really top companies, startups, investment in China, ranging from consumer, internet, and enterprise services, as well as deep tech across different sectors. And we work very closely with Lightspeed US and building a global platform and encompasses US, China, India, and also increasingly Southeast Asia and other parts of the world. We have about $2 billion under management and with 3 different offices in China. Relates to the consumer goods opportunities in China, specifically relates to Procter & Gamble. And we really have seen the e-commerce is playing a very significant role for not only product distribution, but also for consumers to actually discover new products. And from that perspective, I think China is very unique. Its e-commerce growth has really been leaps and bounds and taking a very high percentage in the market compared with US, and also associated logistic capabilities and mobile payments. But also increasingly, there are 2 very unique aspects of the e-commerce, and we think in China particularly it's very unique. And one of them is leveraging the social media platform. And the second one is leveraging the real-time broadcasting through online, especially mobile, to consumers. And that's a totally different ways of doing e-commerce and having consumers discover different products. That has been very, very successful growing in China. And I want to share one story with you. A particular company, Lightspeed China has invested, a company called Pinduo. It's a social e-commerce company. And the founder also came out of Google. I have knew him for over 15 years. Both of us were working on Google way back. And so in US, you have Amazon being very dominant e-commerce companies. And there are a bunch of other independent companies owning their own website, but more product-driven companies. So marketplace is mostly initially eBay, but then mostly dominated by Amazon. In China, we had Taobao, which is part of Alibaba, is the biggest marketplace companies. And then JD, Jingdong, also becomes a very big, substantial companies, similar model to Amazon. So when both companies has been public and very big, Pinduo came out of a garage, basically. So the founder has done 2 other e-commerce startups before, and this is the 3rd company he's thinking about doing it. And I would say most people think it's impossible to build another marketplace company. But what's unique about Pinduo is the founder actually sees the opportunity that social network in China, which equals WeChat, and most consumers actually don't exposed to the commerce opportunities on that social network. So he really took that opportunity and created a product that's very viral and allows consumers to share great product, great deals through their social network. And that enables them to grow very quickly, initially just selling fruits online, but expanded into different categories. And what's impressive about the company, they started 6 years ago from 0. And today they are the largest paying customer e-commerce sites in China, even more than Taobao. and becomes a 150 billion US dollar public company. And so we have seen these kind of a unique growth in China, and we are hoping that we can duplicate that success also across globally. So looking ahead, I think there's still a tremendous opportunities in the consumer space, although the online mobile user growth is kind of slowing, so the user acquisition cost is getting higher. But there's tremendous opportunities for capturing the Generation Z young consumers, and they are more confident, and they are looking for differentiation. They have their own taste. So there are a lot of opportunities for new product companies coming out. And also COVID actually made a lot of Chinese consumers not being able to travel overseas. So they are actually looking for domestic brands and solutions. And it could be some boutique brands, but they can really feel relates to that unique products. So both Generation Z and the domestic brand or even the unique products, we think there's a lot of opportunity in China. And also for Chinese companies, and you think COVID in China really managed it very well. So the supply chain and the manufacturing base, China is still very dominant. So there are a lot of companies actually are based in China. They are selling through internet to global audience. So we are seeing more and more of these companies doing online e-commerce from China and selling globally. And the last, I think, China there is facing a one challenge, which is the older demographics becoming more dominant. And the government is trying to do something with the three-child policy, encouraging the younger generation to have more kids. But there will be increasing bigger portion of the population actually getting older. So for those silver hair population, they have a very substantial savings, and we think there will be consumer goods companies that can target those segments. So when we look at investment, we are looking at these four opportunities, particularly interesting going forward. Another trend we are seeing, actually just in general, the more attention people are paying to the climate change issues. And as we know, the Biden administration really has set the goal for the US policies and really try to reach the carbon peak by 2030 and carbon neutral by 2050. This is very consistent across the world now, and China has set a very serious target, same carbon peak 2030 and a carbon neutral at 10 years later, 2060. But all the efforts are put in to really reduce the carbon footprints across different industry. So it relates to consumer goods products, and we see more and more efforts coupling with technologies, then enabling the product development, distribution, manufacturing, and consumption has a lower carbon footprint. That technology is critical. And also consumers, particularly young consumers, they may not be as environmentally aware as the US young consumers, but more and more of them are paying attention to that. So I can give you two examples of the investment we did recently that reflects that. And the first company is actually an investment we made in the alternative protein space. Actually, it's a plant-based meat company, similar to Beyond and Impossible in US. And as you probably have tried the Impossible Food Burger in the US, the taste and the quality of the burger is just as good as probably the In-N-Out in California. China is very early, and China imports most of the beef globally. And the increasing middle class population is really accelerating the consumption of the beef and the meat. This is a company we invested called Starfield. It's really the leading company in that space. What's interesting is the technology may not be as same as high quality as Impossible, but it's closing the gap. But the Chinese consumer, they are looking for a very diverse product set. Certainly beef patty and a burger is not a big seller in China, but they're looking for a pork alternative product, beef, chicken, and made in different product format because the food is a big item in China, and everybody loves eating. So the startup really has to be very quick at developing and adapting the product for different consumer taste, and also selling to the big restaurant chains, and also building a consumer brand. Eventually, young consumers will recognize Starfield as the leading brand. So the entrepreneurs we are looking for has product development, enterprise selling capabilities, but also brand building for consumers. So that's a very interesting field that we have been actively investing. And another example I want to give it to you relates to the carbon footprint reduction relates to consumer goods. It's a company called Bluefa. It's actually a synthetic biology company. It's all computational. So the first product coming online, it will be a fully degradable plastic product that can be used in the food industry. And the team has a really cross-discipline background in the biotechnology, physics, engineering. And they started with palm oil, adding the right enzyme and with right fermentation. It's all computational, calculator base, and really created this product. It will be the first available product called PHA available. So they have been working with different consumer goods companies and developing a more tailored product in maybe the food container packaging, and for coffee shops, and the straw and the cups, and really facilitates more sustainable consumer goods product distribution and usage. So that's another very big area that creates a very big demand in China. So now I can switch gear a little bit and just share a little bit of what we are, how we did it, how we leverage a global platform and did all these investments in these top companies in China. So I grew up in China, and I studied in the US working in the US for many years, and I returned back to China. And what's interesting, I can talk about my Google experience, how I built Google China from scratch. But at Lightspeed, we truly believe the top entrepreneurs in China, and to some degree in US, their aspiration is not to build just a #1 company in the domestic market. And we really are seeing the top entrepreneurs, they are really looking at expanding globally, and which is very inspiring. And so at the Lightspeed China, we work with them and support them through different rounds of funding, give them strategic advice, strategies, opening up a business opportunities for them, and for the financing and hiring a key, maybe a head of sales or a CTO. But also when they have the product ready to distribute it globally, we work with our partners in the Lightspeed US, Lightspeed India, and Lightspeed Israel, and also in Europe. Because for startups, they are looking for smart investor, not just the capital, but also the resources globally. So this is something we have done consistently, and that enables us to really help them to fulfill their dream, but also enable us to invest in some of the companies. And there's a lot of competition. The global angle really helped for us to be able to work with them. And the reason we can do that is I actually worked in the Silicon Valley for about 14 years. I did my own startup, and then I went to Google. But my Google story was actually, I was given an offer to join Google when they were a 30-person little startup in Palo Alto. I turned them down because I just felt I want to do my own startup. And but later on, I actually joined them back in 2003 and built Google China from scratch. So my experience working at Google China, building it, I think there are a lot of the Procter & Gamble team and other international companies very successful in US are seeing the same kind of opportunities and challenges in China. The market is big, and but there's a lot of competition. So what I did with building Google China was actually we would really build a team locally, and we were able to do a lot of the local products, and we growed our market share from 0 to 20% of the market share in about 3 years and to 4 years. And also we did a lot of things, and I think a lot of the US companies, including Google, are very successful in US, and probably initially were thinking, hey, we can just duplicate it because we did that for Europe. But China is very, very different. So we getting the headquarters support to have a localized product, localized policies, and also enabling the local team to make a local decision. That's very important. And also we did a lot of investment. And when I was Google didn't do any investment globally. So we did a 6 investment in China. And for areas that Google probably is not going to be very successful, but they're very promising early stage companies. And eventually we did a 6 investment, 30 million cost, and we returned a close to 2 billion return, but also helping Google strategically in that market. So coupling with all those, I think having a local team, finding people with entrepreneurial spirit, and understanding the global market at headquarters, but adapting to the local market is important. That's exactly what we did as Lightspeed China. We kind of spin it off. We can make a decision locally, but we work very closely with Lightspeed US and the rest of the team. And so that's why we can be very competitive, be successful. And hopefully, we part of Gamble and has such a great history and a great product portfolios, and there's more opportunities coming up, and hopefully we can work together with all of you. Thank you.